Hey puppers, welcome back to another Pupcorn Movies. We're doing something a little different today. So as opposed to our normal Pupcorn Movies, we are actually doing a top favorite, I guess? Top favorite? Sure, why not? What one is the best and what series are we looking at?
Harry Potter.
Harry Potter.
Yes, we're ranking the Harry Potter movies. God help us all.
See, and the thing that makes that so much fun is I am a pretty big Harry Potter fan, and you are not.
Yeah, me not so much.
He's a Lord of the Rings geek, so.
I will do my best not to constantly compare the series to Lord of the Rings. I want to judge it by its own merits and its own flaws.
Which, I mean, I can definitely understand. Like, there's, of course, going to be issues from books to film, yada, yada, yada. And even as a child, we didn't really see a lot of the story flaws that we see now as adults. So, like, even as a big fan, I can still admit there's a lot of flaws within the fundamentals of the storyline, not just the movies, but the books themselves.
Correct. And we're going to go year by year.
Yes.
We're going to start from the first movie.
And then at the end, we're just going to say which one was our favorite to which one we thought was the worst.
Sounds good to me.
All right.
All right, then. Why don't you get us started, Missy?
Okay. So, the Sorcerer's Stone.
Yeah, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. The one that started it all.
Yeah. For this one, it was interesting to kind of revisit it because I hadn't watched it in so long. It was very nostalgic, but also it felt long.
Okay.
It felt very, very long. I kept checking the time. I didn't really necessarily enjoy the length of it. It felt kind of...
I didn't really feel the length until like the last third, like when they're trying to actually get the Sorcerer's Stone and they go through the trials, so I'm just like, oh dear.
Yeah, and of course, you know, there are some fundamental flaws where he's like, Rule 1! Don't go in the Forbidden Forest. Detention to the Forbidden Forest. And then they're like, not to mention, we're gonna split up. You're gonna send two 11-year-olds together in the Forbidden Forest at night. So, like, yeah, there are some fundamental flaws and things that I was like, why'd they do that? Just, like, him jumping at all the letters. I'm like, dude, pick one up off the floor and book it. Like, what are you doing? You're wasting time. But other than that, like, it was very bright. It was very happy. It was very much like the Chris Columbus, not Christopher Columbus. He fake discovered America.
That's right.
I missay it all the time. I wouldn't say it's my favorite by any means, but it is on the upper half.
Yeah. The effects still hold pretty well.
Yeah. I think so. I think
it's a nice blend of practical and CG, so it looks good.
You know, the awkward, like, head on the back of the head.
Oh, yeah.
But other than that, like, again, it's like happy butterfly nostalgia. Like,
okay.
But I wouldn't say that it's the best Harry Potter movie, but it did start the ball rolling.
Yeah. It's a good start.
One of the better films, in my opinion, is actually the second one.
Yeah.
So, Chamber of Secrets.
It's like Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets is Sorcerer's Stone, but better.
Yes. They're still young. They're still, like, you get the fun, like, kids and, you know, on an adventure, learning to use magic. But you really get to see who they are as characters. You know, you get to see the trio as the trio.
Yeah.
You know, they're friends now. They're not just, like, stuck with one another, but they're actually friends that want to hang out and want to be together. Plus,
well, like, in the first movie, most of the kid actors were always with an adult.
Yeah.
More experienced, because, like, what a cast we got. We got, like...
it's an intense cast.
John Hurt. Richard Harris. Richard Harris, Alan Rickman. So, like, you got quite a cast.
Yeah. It's pretty intense, and even throughout the second film, like, we really start to see some of the infamous scenes and quotes that just really resonate more, in my opinion, than what they did in The Philosopher's Stone.
Yeah.
Sorcerer's Stone. We're in the US. We're not British. Anyway, I'm a sucker for, like, a really dark scene, and I think that started with Chamber of Secrets because you have some darker themes. Like, you have a 12-year-old that's like, oh shit, my sister's gonna die.
Yeah.
Like, so you have those different elements of, like, the actors, these child actors really trying to portray darker emotions and darker scenes. But you also have some really great quotes.
Yeah. Where have you been?
How dare you steal that car?
Follow the spiders! Follow the spiders! If Hagrid ever gets out of Azkaban, I'll kill him.
Yes.
I don't even think he was acting.
One of Rupert Grint's most genuine performances throughout the entire series was that specific line.
Yeah, Chamber of Secrets was when I started really noticing how quotable the series was getting. That's when I remembered most of the quotes.
You have so many fun things as well. Like even in the scene where they meet Aragog, and you have Harry that's straight to business. I'm here on a mission to save Hagrid. This is what's going on. And the whole time Ron is in the background just having a mental breakdown. And it's just funny because they're saved by a feral car.
Yes, they are.
The forest has claimed the car and it comes back to save them. And I just think it's really funny without necessarily needing to be ha funny.
But Harry Potter's biggest strength is its mystery.
Yeah.
And Chamber of Secrets and even the next movie, Prisoner of Azkaban, has very good mystery. And at the end of the day, I'm a sucker for creatures, especially a creature fight at the end of the movie.
And the basilisk, even for the time frame, because it was 2002, 2003 when the movie came out, and that basilisk looked good.
Yeah.
Even still, rewatching it, it was creepy. It looked real. I think that just the animation, the CG, puppetry, whatever they did to make it, was really, really phenomenal. And you also had some really great scenes with just Daniel Radcliffe. One of, I feel the most memorable scenes that you had mentioned that I didn't really think too much on until we rewatched it, and I was like, wow, that is really great, is when he's looking in the diary for the first time. So he opens the diary and he's writing to Tom Riddle, and he goes into the diary. So you have really, really great moments there of just how villainous Tom Riddle can be.
I like Tom Riddle. Almost a bit more than Voldemort because he's just so cool and calm.
He's charming.
Whatever.
He to me is the perfect villain because he's charming and he also thinks he's doing right. Yeah. So, and it's there's that moment where it's is he the villain? And then he's just give me my wand, Tom. And Tom is nah. And you're just yeah, he's the villain. Okay.
Hurry, there's a basilisk. Well, it only comes when it's called.
I know. So it's a lot of these.
It's cold.
The SpongeBob meme. But I think that the Chamber of Secrets, you said it the best. It's the Sorcerer's Stone, but better. It has all the great
now that
things
we establish our characters,
child actors, but
they're not attached to an adult all the time. Yeah. They're able to act on their own, and we have the chemistry with the trio. We have that good old rivalry, which will be sorely missed in the latter movies.
It comes back, kind of. But moving on. So the next one is going to be The Prisoner of Azkaban.
Yeah.
Now this one, I would say, is probably my favorite director. We do have a direction shift for The Prisoner of Azkaban. The first two, my tongue isn't cooperating. So... But the first two were Chris Columbus, and then Alfonso takes over for the third film.
Yep.
So this is where we really see, the thematic darkness kick in.
Yeah.
Voldemort's not in this movie at all. But it's way darker than all of the other ones. Even, Dead Ginny and the Chamber of Secrets, it's darker than that. Because you have a 13-year-old that is willing to murder people to seek vengeance for his family.
The emotion is darker. You have your main character... driven by revenge.
Yeah. And then you also have, the teachers that are trying to figure out this lie that's been brewing for the past decade and, their own hatred working through that. And then, of course, you have Gary Oldman, who's just a master. I love him.
This movie introduces my favorite characters in the series. Sirius Black and Lupin.
Yes.
David Thewlis does Lupin. He is the definitive defense against the dark arts teacher.
He's charming. He's he's helpful. He's encouraging. And it's he even says multiple times because of the struggle that he goes through, he knows better how to teach his students. And it's
not sure how I missed out on that when I was a kid.
Yeah. I mean,
I feel like I was a dumb kid because I was
the Bogart,
how did I not know Professor Quirrell was the bad guy of the first movie? How did I not know? Like, the Bogart turns into a moon. How did I miss that?
Werewolves? We're not set to learn about werewolves for months. Do it! Like, so, like, there's a lot of hints that Lupin is, a werewolf. Not to mention his name is Lupin.
Yeah.
But the third movie definitely introduces a lot of things that I wish they would have stuck with long term when it comes to directing, having a vision, having, a solid viewpoint of where these films are going.
I wonder if Alfonso would have went on to do the rest of the movies if I'd liked them as a whole more.
Yeah.
Because, not having a strict vision hurts.
It messes it up so much for the later films.
The only other series I know that, bounced between directors and I was like, are the newer Star Wars movies.
Yeah.
Woof.
But even at that, part of my favorite direction in this film was the major plot scene changes and the way that they show the course of time, that it's a full
Oh my
school
god,
year.
this movie has time travel and I don't hate it.
Yeah, it's fantastic, but they use the Whomping Willow as that transitional, which adds humor.
Yes.
And it's not trying too hard like some of the later movies do, where it's somebody in the back with a drum, bada ping, it's naturally funny if you think those types of things are funny. But as for the time travel, I think they do a really, really nice job because they hint at it in the beginning when Ron is just like, when'd you get here? Did you see her come in? When did she come in? And all of a sudden you find out that Hermione is time traveling. And so we really get to see them relive that entire day. And all of the little details were just spot on. From watching themselves reenact and just the little details of the rocks and the placement of things, I think was just really
love
well
this
done.
movie. Not even as just a Harry Potter movie, but just as a fantasy film.
Yeah, I just think it was really well done.
Really good.
Now, one of the biggest complaints I know that we've heard talked about is that they're not in their robes. They're not in their school robes. So it feels less magical, whereas I completely disagree because they're at the age now where they know more spells, they can do more spells. So at the end of the day, they don't have a teacher holding their hand no, you say it like this, you do it like this. Yeah. They can react and do this on their own. And so they're using more spells, they're using more magic. There's more magic in this film.
They do spells to solve their problems.
Yeah.
Cut to Hermione
witches
punching
and wizards.
Draco Malfoy.
Meh. She messed up on that scene so many times on purpose just to keep punching him in the face. I love it. But there's just a lot about the movie itself that I just really love. I think that the direction was spot on. The acting was wonderful for such young children. And also the introduction to a new Dumbledore.
Yeah. Because the first two was Richard Harris. Which, God, if this movie was made... If these movies were made 10 years, in the 90s... I think Richard Harris would have nailed it.
Oh, yeah.
Because, he's kind of tapping out by Chamber of Secrets. You can tell he's
starting to lose it a little bit.
And the scene that I feel is closest to the books of, that is so Dumbledore, is from Sorcerer's Stone with the Mirror of Erised.
Yeah.
That is an excellent scene.
Whereas, he's not exceedingly present in Prisoner of Azkaban. He has a few scenes that he pops in and out of.
He has yet to
them a course.
warm up. I have yet to warm up to this Dumbledore.
But he was new and he's different, and we were unsure of how to feel about him at first. Which kind of leads us into, let's just get right to it, Goblet of Fire.
Yeah.
Him screaming,
Harry! Harry, did you put your name in the Goblet of Fire?
He said calmly. But again, for the Goblet of Fire, it's direction. The director screwed the pooch on this. It was just such poor directing. They focused so much on, the awkward teenagers instead of plot that it was almost unbearable.
Almost, yeah. I could say there's two scenes I enjoy in the Goblet of Fire. Although I will lead by saying that I thought the scenes that I hated the most in Goblet of Fire were in another movie to begin with.
They were not.
No, they were not. That fucking ball, I was like, oh,
awful.
This movie. Because I was wondering, what the hell is this movie? Just the trials? Because there's only 3 of them. We're approaching the first hour, and we're done with the first trial.
It just
the ball.
It,
the ball,
pacing,
the crush,
the direction, the customers. The customers? I don't even know what I'm talking about. I hate it so much. But it's just like the thing that I dislike the most, and I'm just gonna get the dislikes out of the way because there are a few really good points about the Goblet of Fire that I would like to end on.
Okay.
But really, the thing that I dislike the most is the misuse of comedy, where it's like everyone's trying to be a comedian. I feel like they really should have left the comedy to Mad-Eye Moody and Fred and George.
Yep.
But instead, they tried to have Filch be a comedian. Everyone's cracking a joke at serious moments.
Yeah.
And it was just really awkward, and it made the film feel weird. Because everyone's trying to be funny. Everyone's trying to crack a joke. Everyone's trying to be the comedian, and it just doesn't work because A, it's not in their character.
Right.
You know, it's not in the character to try and be funny.
You're right.
Leave the funny to the characters who were designed to be funny. Which again is direction, you know.
Well, what's interesting is like this is the introduction to like Lord Voldemort.
Yeah.
Like the new actor who's playing Lord Voldemort, not just the voice. And he's the least funny in this movie.
Yeah.
Like he actually has some scary scenes.
That's the good point. So
he's flamboyant, but he's like very unnerving.
Yeah, and I love it. Like there are two good points in my opinion in this movie. Mad-Eye Moody, so his class time, and then also when he turns Draco into a ferret.
Yeah.
And McGonagall, is that a student? Technically, it's a ferret. Like, it's just comical because we're just like, yeah, get slimy little ferret.
Well, this is the start of what I like to call, hey, Draco's in the movie.
He's
Neville's in the movie.
Yeah. But the other...
Oh, God, we'll get to this complaint.
The other really great part in the movie is the cemetery scene.
Yeah.
So from the moment that they kill Cedric all the way until they teleport back to the arena, I feel like was just really, really well done. Voldemort is super creepy. Like, he has the flamboyancy of the way he moves his body and some of the words that he says, but it's still creepy.
He's very show-offy, but when he's pissed, he gets very serious, and he doesn't, like he does in the later movies.
Where it's just like, I really wish he would have just whispered that line, because it's so much creepier.
Which I feel like that is the one thing this director did better than the last director, is direct Voldemort.
And because even when he's talking to Harry, and he's like, they'll talk of how you begged for mercy, and I obliged. So, and it's like, it's creepy, and it kind of makes your skin crawl, because you're just like, you know what's happening, and you know what's going down, and he's just like making this story already that's not truthful, and you're just like, oh, like, it just makes you mad.
The boy who lived, how lies have filled your legend.
So, and it's like, I really love that whole scene, and I think that scene alone carries the movie.
Because I think that actor could have pulled off a fantastic Voldemort in the others if he had a better director.
Yeah. But like, I think that scene carries the movie. That's the only reason that I would rewatch it at all, is for that scene. But next was the film that you thought some of the bad scenes were in, The Order of the Phoenix.
The Order of the Phoenix.
And I feel bad because I always forget about this movie.
It's a forgettable movie, in my honest opinion. In the grand scheme of things, it's just like, well...
It makes me sad because it had really great potential. I do think it is better directed.
Yes.
But just, it almost feels like not a lot happens, even though a lot happens. Like, it has one of the greatest Harry Potter villains. You hate Umbridge more than you hate Voldemort. Like, at the end of the day, for me anyway.
I'm more annoyed by Umbridge.
Like, she just...
I'm like, all right, you're not the main antagonist. You're not going to go anywhere beyond this movie.
Of just like that,
yeah, it was a good performance. A good hateable performance.
Yeah,
I'll give her that.
So, but at the end of the day, it's a really forgettable film. And I don't necessarily know if it's a fault of its own or if it's the writing.
It has a very cool duel at the end between, like, the best duel in the series, because, like, it's more than just pew, 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 back and forth. Dumbledore and Voldemort actually cast a variety of spells.
My favorite part, though, and I don't know, I think it's a mixture of the film editing, because I don't necessarily know if it would be considered the direction, but the editing itself and the effects is when Voldemort, like, breathes the fire dragon. Yeah. And it's just, like, the angle, the way that he does it, and, like, the CG effects all together. I was just like, ooh! Yeah. That is good. But yeah, overall.
My biggest problem with The Order of the Phoenix is when I consider what comes after and like what everything is building to. Goblet of Fire dropped the ball, but Order of the Phoenix didn't do a better job of like picking it up.
Yeah, Order of the Phoenix didn't pick it up.
No, it did not pick it up. It was up to Half-Blood Prince to be like, well, we gotta do this because they're in the books.
Yeah.
So we have to address the Horcruxes.
One of the things that I hated the most about Order of the Phoenix was they did Sirius dirty.
I forgot how quick that scene happens.
And
I remember
steps
it being
into the arch
longer.
and then fades away, and it's just like it's so frustrating because it's like that's such an emotional moment.
Yeah.
And I remember like reading that in the books and just like bawling my eyes out, and I almost didn't care in the movie because it was just like
an afterthought.
And now it's done. And then we're not going to talk about it again.
A lot of the most important things about this movie are afterthoughts that are just, woo, blink if you miss it lines. Like, Harry actually has a family.
Yeah.
Well, it's like it mentioned in a scene, so like, unless you're a diehard Harry Potter fan, you're not going to catch that.
Right. And it's kind of annoying that was just so quick and done with. But personally, that's one of the scenes I don't know how they would have made it better. To be honest, like, I can hate it, but I don't know how I would have improved upon it without it feeling clunky. Because I've thought about it multiple times in my head of like, okay, how would I have done this? And then I'm just like, well, I would do it this way. And then I see how they do the scenes afterwards, and I'm like, well, that would be weird to transition into. So it's just like one of those things where it's like, I don't like how they did it, but I don't know how they would have done it better.
Right.
But moving on to the next film,
Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. This was when the ball started rolling again for me.
So, and this was the final director. He directed the final 3 films.
No, he did Order of the Phoenix as well.
Oh, okay.
Yes, his debut was Order of the Phoenix.
So he did the final.
He did
films.
the rest.
Okay.
He's fine.
Oops.
He's not my favorite. He's not my least favorite.
I think he does better, though.
He's fine.
I like the Half-Blood Prince.
I do like the Half-Blood Prince. This was the one where I was just like, Michael Gambon got it. That's Dumbledore.
Yeah. He stopped yelling things and started being Dumbledore again.
Yeah.
But
there's charm, there's charisma. You get to see like the villains in their prime, and like there's the mystery comes back, and you spend a lot more time at Hogwarts, and there's a romance that sucks. Oh wait, there's a romance that sucks. Shit. Well, it's not perfect.
I'm not a romance fan anyway, so anytime they're just like, and these two fell in love, I'm just like, okay. But I like Half-Blood Prince because it kind of shines the light on Snape.
Yes.
So that's when he starts becoming almost more of his own character versus than just like the standard bad guy that doesn't like the kids.
Right.
You start to see more of why he doesn't like Harry,
There's
other
more of
than
a
just like,
yeah.
I didn't like your dad. Like, you start to see his other feelings, which I think is really interesting to see there.
Well, this is also where, because like this was an issue I had with Order of the Phoenix. Draco's in the movie. Neville's in the movie.
There he is.
Whereas he has a point and development and a struggle in the Half-Blood Prince. Draco is like,
he did an amazing performance.
Wow.
Like, Tom Felton, he did really, really well in the Half-Blood Prince. You can see his inner turmoil.
Yeah. Like, I don't want to do this anymore.
You see him being like, I'm cool. Like, yeah, I'm a part of the gang now. See how cool I am, to like, oh, shit.
Well, like,
I don't want to be here.
movies 3, 4, and 5, like, I'll even put 3, and I'll be fair.
Yeah.
Even 3 does this, where it's just, my father will hear about this.
Yeah, well, I'm going to tell
That's all Draco
I'm
is.
my daddy. And
for 3
then
movies.
It's like, all of a sudden, daddy's been shamed, and he's not a part of the cool kids club anymore. So you can't run to daddy. You have to do this on your own. And you see him really start to struggle with it. And I think that Tom Felton did a really great job.
Absolutely.
Just that performance, beautiful.
This was the movie where I wish the old Tom Riddle was there.
Yeah.
Because this kid was just kind of like, I hate everything. I'm kind of robotic and stoic and emotionless. Whereas Tom Riddle, as established in
sound really
Chamber
bad.
of Secrets.
I don't like the new kid's face. Like, it sounds really bad, and I don't mean it in like a negative way. Like, he was almost too pretty
Okay.
Do you understand what I mean by that? Where
Sure.
It's like, he had very feminine features, which I just don't like. Like, I just didn't like his face.
Okay.
For Voldemort. Like,
right.
He was very pretty, whereas the other one, he was like an attractive younger person, but he didn't look quite so slick back.
Yeah. Had nothing to do with the looks for me. It had everything to do with the personality.
Well, to me, it was all wrapped into one.
Okay.
He was very blasé. Instead of like the curious, cunning, person that he was supposed to be.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm with you. I didn't like it. I can't exactly like pinpoint. I don't think I don't like your face is a good enough reason.
No.
I don't know if it was like a mix of the style as well. Like he had literally his hair like slicked back to his head, whereas the older Tom Riddle from Chamber of Secrets had more of like the era hairstyle.
They were trying to make him look like Hitler.
Oh, well, okay. Anywho, moving forward, do you have anything else to say about Half-Blood Prince? Because I know starting out, you weren't crazy about it when we first started, listing the movies.
Yeah,
and
we were talking about it. I liked it more than Order of the Phoenix, but I was still like, it's in the lower half.
Okay.
No, this movie really shot up for me when I recently rewatched it.
Same. Okay. So then we'll just jump right into part 1 then. Deathly Hallows
Part 1.
No,
I do have one more thing to add.
Go for it.
Like, even though it was late to the party, at least Half-Blood Prince jumps into my least favorite plot point of the entire series, the Horcruxes.
Oh, yeah.
I am of the opinion that from the beginning, Harry was meant to be a Horcrux.
Yeah.
I do not believe for a second that the other 6 were part of the plan. I feel like they were tacked on at the end. If they were a part of the plan, they would have been foreshadowed earlier on.
Yeah. See, and I'm with you there, and it's like, there are a lot of people that will argue, well, the diary, and it's like, okay, put your feathers down, like, that wasn't ever listed as a Horcrux.
Mm-hmm.
It makes sense, but it doesn't fit, like, it doesn't nestle in, because where were the Horcruxes then in 3, 4, and 5?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So I'm right there with you.
But
that to me is
brings more
story
questions than
issue,
answers.
Not necessarily a film issue. I do think that's a story issue.
Yeah.
But how they present them in the films is problematic.
Like, number 1, they've been going through all this time trying to find these Horcruxes. They meaning
Harry
and Dumbledore. Mainly Dumbledore.
Mm-hmm.
But Harry manages to find them all in the last year. In
I know,
1 year, he finds all of them, even though Voldemort went out of his way to hide each of them in very obscure ways. Number 2, I'd say about 4 of the Horcruxes actually have a purpose and are just like a thing that's tainted by evil.
We were talking about that film-wise. So again, leaving the books out of it, because if you didn't read the books and you were watching the movies, it should still make sense to you. If it doesn't, then to me, that's a poorly directed film. The Horcruxes, like... the crown.
The tiara.
Yeah. Rowena's crown. I think they call it a diadem.
Diadem.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm not British. I'm not fancy. But anyway, why? Why? Like, he was a Slytherin. He had no connection to Ravenclaw.
Yeah.
Why would he choose that specific item? It doesn't make sense. It's never explained. It's all like, oh, well, he came and he said he was going to destroy it. He defiled it. And it's like, why?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it doesn't make sense. The goblet and Bellatrix, like her Gringotts Bank, like,
oh, yeah.
why? Like, those are the things we kind of like jump the gun. Those are all in part 2.
Another issue. But because we're so focused on these Horcruxes, we have to leave a huge cast of characters. Like, literally, Hogwarts is still going. I don't know why it's still going.
I know. They're like, hey, listen, your headmaster died by, the new headmaster's hand. Voldemort's back, and don't worry, his people are all running the castle, but still, send your kids to school.
But, like, Neville's in the movie, and he's very important in the books from what people tell me.
Yeah.
He was important from the books that I've read. Not in the movies.
Yeah. He has, like, one line.
He is wasted.
Yeah.
In the entire series.
But, like... part 1, we see mainly them in the forest.
Yeah.
They have the one Horcrux necklace, and they're trying to figure out how to destroy it. And that's pretty much the whole first movie.
Yeah, it's focused on one Horcrux, and that is the strength, where you're spending time on a Horcrux.
Yeah.
Devoting ample time to make it memorable, leave an impression to where it's just like, I buy that.
Well, not only that, but to see how difficult it is to kill it.
Yes.
You know, they're not just like simple to destroy.
Well,
like,
in part 2, they play hot potato with a basilisk fang.
They're just like, here, take this fang. And it's like, never fully explained why the basilisk fang works, but nothing else does.
It was tainted by the Sword of Gryffindor.
Okay.
When they stabbed the basilisk.
I thought it was the other way around.
I think it did both.
Basilisk. Yeah, it was very weird and confusing, and I don't understand why they did that. But
like,
I think part 1 was fairly enjoyable overall because, like you
part
said, they
1's
spent the time
strength
it
is
needed.
the characters.
Yeah.
Like, you better like Harry, Ron, and Hermione because
you're
with them. You're with them, and like this is them at their peak.
But one of my favorite scenes is like the opening of the movie whenever everyone goes to the Dursleys' house and they all have to take the Polyjuice potion and they all look like Harry.
Yeah.
And you have Fleur like in her little lace bralette that's like, don't look at me.
Look at me.
But it's Daniel Radcliffe and the little lacy bralette and I'm just like, that's funny. Like, you can't help but laugh.
Mad-Eye Moody's killed off screen.
Yeah. Oh, God.
That's just Deathly Hallows in general.
Just
meaningful characters die off screen because we're focused on destroying the Horcruxes.
Yeah.
There's a whole war. We might as well just go into part 2.
Yeah.
Part 1 and part 2 are kind of similar.
Yeah, they're like interchangeable to a degree.
Because
part 2,
the first time I ever watched them was back to back.
Yeah.
And this time when I watched them, it was like one day, then the next day.
Yeah. So there was like a little bit of a break,
but they both share the same issue. Is you have this whole war going around at Hogwarts.
And then they're just like,
but you don't see most of the war because they're taking on the Horcruxes.
And it's
they're destroying Horcruxes.
Which is fine because you have some really cool scenes like in the room where the tiara is, and they have like the fire. That's all the like animals of the houses. You have like the lion.
I prefer quality over quantity.
Yeah.
This is a quantity problem.
It's just like, yeah, it's one of those things where it's the writing. Like for me, this is really where I feel like the writing is the problem. Yeah. And the director is just like,
well, this is what I got.
I mean, they fucked it up at the movie 4, so I'm just trying to like steadily fix it. But the writing doesn't help either. No. So I think overall, the writing really catches up to the films here, where it's just poor writing, where it's like, you're right. Dumbledore spends freaking years trying to find these Horcruxes. And then Harry, who's at the time a 17-year-old child, is just like, found him. Yay!
He just figures it out. Oh, it's the snake. Oh, it's the cup. Oh, it's like, something in Hogwarts.
The only argument I could have for that is he can feel them. Like, he can hear them.
Right.
He can feel that they're around. But it's also like you have to know where to go.
Yeah.
So, like, finding out where to go, like, when Dumbledore couldn't, I'm just like, that's some bullshit. Like, it's not a believable reaction, in my opinion, that Dumbledore couldn't figure out that, Rowena Ravenclaw's tiara was a Horcrux in the school that he taught at, that he lived his entire life at.
But for me,
you're telling me he didn't know?
Even if they did, you sacrifice so many good characters, so many good scenes and ideas, just to scavenger hunt for these goddamn Horcruxes. And it's a bummer. It was 20 minutes into part 1 that I said, this series just ain't for me.
Yeah. And it's like,
it has some high highs, but it has some low lows.
Yeah. And it's really unfortunate because what I feel like would have been better and almost more appropriate in a way, get rid of the Horcruxes. Make Harry the accidental Horcrux.
Yeah.
He tried to kill Lily. He missed it. His soul latched onto Harry. So leave out that he made 7 Horcruxes because 6, I guess, just wasn't enough.
Yeah.
He needs an odd number because
once Harry starts destroying 4 of them, he's like, maybe I should.
Yeah. He's like,
I've been killing people for the fuck of it for the past 2 movies anyways.
But like,
why not just turn one into a Horcrux?
Yeah. So I just don't think that was necessarily like the best move to make with the Horcruxes. But what I would have loved to see more of was the actual Deathly Hallows. So like the 3 pieces, because that's another thing that started from the very beginning, from the very first movie, Harry has the invisibility cloak.
Yes.
So I feel like that would have tied in so much better because you see Dumbledore's wand throughout the entirety of the films.
Yeah.
You know that he's the most powerful wizard. They say time and time again, he is the most powerful wizard. He's the only one the Dark Lord fears.
Yeah.
So then it would click like, oh, it's a freaking wand.
Mm-hmm.
He has like the wand.
Yeah.
And then to turn the Deathly Hallows into like the search for the stone.
Yeah.
You know, focus more on those Deathly Hallows, you know, the namesake, instead of spending it on the Horcruxes. That's my opinion.
I agree.
Again, that's a writing issue. That's
but
not
you brought up
necessarily a
one
film
more
issue.
very interesting point. When we were watching the movies, the snake is the last Horcrux they destroy.
Oh, I hate it. I hate it. So, like, the ordering, it's so weird and it's clunky and it's just like, Nagini is the last Horcrux to be destroyed and it makes no sense. And it's like, I feel like the only reason they do that is so that he can like crumble into ashes and float off into the distance.
Mm-hmm.
But like, Harry is the most important Horcrux. He is the entire reason for this franchise is Harry Potter. And they're gonna kill Harry Potter, destroy that Horcrux, and then he's gonna come back and be like, the job's not done. It's so frustrating.
Yeah.
It's just like, so Nagini literally usurps Harry Potter as the most important piece of the story.
Yes.
Stupid. That is a stupid ordering. It does not feel right. And if you disagree, let me know why, because clearly I'm missing something. If that's the way that it should be done. I hate it. So
like,
overall,
to wrap this all up, overall,
Yeah.
before we start ranking, I will say this is not my favorite franchise by a landslide, but it's nowhere near the worst. And I will give the author credit. She got to finish her story.
Yeah.
Which is more than I can say for George R.R. Martin.
He just gave up. He was like, I don't even want to anymore.
Or George Lucas, where he's just like, oh, please, let me give it to someone else. Let someone else fuck it up.
But, and that's the thing I feel like was almost...
I'll heal it up.
But I feel like that was almost the biggest flaw, is they started making movies before the books were finished.
Yeah.
So they didn't have necessarily a nice, pretty thing to go off of, which is something that we also discussed when we were doing our, like, original thoughts of, like, sorting out how we were feeling about these movies.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of these other franchises, you have maybe 1 or 2 book in a series of 7 or 8, and they start the movies, and then the movies just really suck.
Yeah.
Because the books decide to veer off in a direction, and the films left vital parts out that are important later in the books.
Yeah.
Or they just were unfortunately a product of the time, like
Yeah.
Aragon, you know, where it just like
Lord
the books
Jesus.
were there and then the movies were just bad.
Yeah.
But then you
and
have
they
a
didn't make
series-
money, so it's
yeah.
like, I'm not making more.
Yeah. But then you have series like Lord of the Rings, where the books were all done.
Yep.
They were wrapped up real nice and pretty. There
One
were,
director's vision.
There were 3 books. There was one director with 3 films. After all of the books were already done and, you know, had been established, they had a fan base to make these films. And to me, that's why so many people like Lord of the Rings better, because there's a solid vision.
Yeah.
There's one person's solid vision based off of an already completed work.
Yep.
So, whereas I feel like if Harry Potter had been completely done, all of the books were written, and then one director decided to do all of the films, it would have blown out of the water so many of these series that just missed the mark. But unfortunately, it fell into that category for a lot of different
And again,
reasons.
that's just our opinion because it's a fucking
absolutely.
success. It's phenomenal. Who the hell are we to say anything?
J.K.
Let's get
Rowling.
to ranking.
J.K. Rowling is in her mansion, and we're sitting here in our like 3-bedroom house, like, yes, this is bad.
Yeah, really.
She's laughing on her piles of money.
It's it's all in good fun. So we'll start with
Anyway.
worst, and we'll work our way up to the best. The worst Harry Potter movie is Harry Potter
And the
Goblet of Fire.
Did you put your name in the Goblet of Fire? Yes, and we put it at the bottom.
Yes.
So that one definitely the worst.
That is a put it down.
Yeah, put it down. Just take it out back.
Put it down.
Get rid of it.
Next up for me, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1.
I can agree with that.
Yeah. Take it to the shelter.
Yeah. I don't think it
What's your
deserves
movie
that.
about? Horcruxes. Take it to the shelter.
Yeah, go on. Just I think the next one is where we have a little bit of a difference.
Okay. The next one for me is Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix.
I would put Deathly Hallows Part 2.
Okay. Deathly Hallows Part 2.
Yeah.
So what is it about Order of the Phoenix you like more than Deathly Hallows Part 2?
So the reason that I would put Order of the Phoenix higher is mainly the battle at the end.
Yeah.
And my hatred for Umbridge.
Okay.
So I really think that it was brilliantly done how they made her more hateable than Voldemort himself. So that's the only reason that I would make those slight differences.
We brought it up when we were watching, like, Umbridge tries to expel this one teacher.
Yeah.
And, like, Dumbledore's like, no, to hell with you, I'm still in charge. And then Voldemort kills, like, this teacher that we never met.
That was in Part 2, and that's why I would put Part 2 below Order of the Phoenix, because it had an opportunity to really, like, twist the knife, and it didn't do it.
Like, so, how much, again, like you said, a twist of the knife would it be to kill the teacher that Umbridge tried to expel, and Dumbledore said,
just one that we knew.
Yeah, we knew.
We'd never met this teacher. We don't know who she is. We never saw any of the students in her classes, and we're supposed to give a shit that she dies? Like,
yeah, she's
sorry,
food.
but no.
Good. Nagini got food.
I know, like, feed the snake.
Nagini gotta eat.
Poor baby. She lives the longest. She's gotta make sure she's fed. But yeah.
She's smarter than the Death Eaters.
She
really disguised as a damn old woman.
She really is, though.
She almost had him.
I love what gives that away, though, is that she speaks parcel tongue to Harry, and Harry, like, responds, and he doesn't even think twice about it.
Yeah.
So I just thought that was really clever. But yeah, that's why I would put Order of the Phoenix above Part 2, is because Part 2 really missed a lot that it could have done to, like, almost hurt the viewer's feelings. Like, use a teacher that we know and we love and put them in that position. So that's why I would rank them as such.
I put Part 2 above it, if not for anything else, that despite all the mixed feelings I have, they managed to stick the landing. Like, they ended the damn movie, they ended the series. I'm just like, cool. There are some really cool
19 years
scenes.
later.
Neville's speech before taking on, like, drawing the sword. Snape, like, Harry knowing the truth about Snape and like the dough and like all that that flashback through Snape's perspective and like how he was playing both sides.
Those two films, it might depend on the day. It might depend on the day how I feel about ranking them, because you're right, you bring up a lot of really great points as to why
like
one could
Snape
be
had that satisfying death that we wanted Sirius to have.
Yeah,
and he doesn't.
He did.
So Snape is the true like godfather in a sense, who was always watching out for him, and Alan Rickman is just performing his ass off.
I love him so
I miss
much.
you, buddy.
Okay, so that's kind of like our lower half ordering. So we have some we agree on, some we kind of like disagree on. So what do you think comes next?
Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. It is a movie that is snug right in the middle between good movies and movies I'm not a fan of.
Yeah.
Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. It's a feel-good movie, and it makes me be like,
it's nostalgic.
Here we go again.
You don't want to watch it too often.
Another trip to Hogwarts.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Then after that, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. Again, like Sorcerer's Stone, but better. One notch above.
I think, again, we're falling into the same category. I have the hiccup, sorry. We're falling into a similar category where I can agree.
Yeah.
But I think it also depends on the day.
Okay.
For what I know your number 2 is.
Because my number 2 is Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince.
Yes. So today, I can agree with that ordering. Just because I feel like Half-Blood Prince, the characters are developed, the direction is just so good. And
someone finally got it.
Yeah. So, and like the total feeling and description of what I wanted those characters to be like. But I also, they're so close together where it's like, I also really love the Chamber of Secrets.
Okay.
And I love that that's like the first, boom, introduction, dark vibes, dark themes, dark scenery, where it's like, it's creepy, it's weird, you have a lot of snakes and monsters, and I really like that too. But I
Chamber of Secrets doesn't have the level of emotion that my top 2 have, though. And like, as much as I love monsters and like dark themes, when your characters show like pure emotion and are dealing with difficulties and like they nail it, and that is the Half-Blood Prince and my number 1, Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban.
always the favorite.
Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban is a masterpiece.
I love it. I think that one just has
Part of the family.
Everything it needs. It has funny where it needs to be funny. It has serious where it needs to be serious. No pun intended.
Saw what you did there.
But yeah, I think that one was the most well-directed. It had the most genuine cast reactions and things like that. I just think that it was really, really well done.
And honestly, I feel a lot more movies would be above Sorcerer's Stone if that director for Prisoner of Azkaban stayed around.
Oh, absolutely. But that's our ordering.
And it would be a lot harder for me to choose between Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter. Like right now, you're like, which is better? Oh, Lord of the Rings, duh.
See,
for me.
Yeah, for you.
For me.
Which is
again,
okay.
this is just my
and you know
my
what?
opinion.
If you love Harry Potter, let us know why you love it. What was your favorite? How would you rank them? Let us know in the comments below.
Because like it boils down to, and like you keep egging at this, I've yet to admit it, but I really like high fantasy.
And I really like low fantasy and urban fantasy, which they're very different.
And you claim that I just flat out do not like low fantasy, which there is some truth to that. But I'm going to find one.
Because like one of the first things he said when we watched this is, what are the rules of the magic? What are the rules? And I'm like, there are no rules. There doesn't have to be rules here. And you're like, but no. Why does it work the way it works?
If it's such a big deal that they can't be seen, then when all the shit starts happening in the real world, I'm like, so do they see that? Like, when Voldemort starts fucking with everybody, are they just like, well, the weather's a little awful today here in London? London.
And so, again, those are things that in low fantasy aren't necessarily considered important, which I can disagree for some, agree for some others.
And like, that is the tone issue I have. The story issue I have is I hate the way the school operates.
Yeah.
With like house points and like, what the fuck is the point of Slytherin?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of issues, so what we want to hear
But for me personally, what resolves that is that I just watch My Hero Academia, which is how I prefer Harry Potter.
I love it. But
the better school.
We want to know what your favorite Harry Potter movies are.
Yeah.
Are you a bigger Lord of the Fans?
Lord of the Fans.
A fan of Lord of the Rings?
Uh-huh.
Lord of the Flies, who knows?
Do you like Lord of the Rings? Do you like Harry Potter? Do you like Narnia?
Are you
like, hey.
Mortal Instruments? Because that's coming next.
It is?
Oh my god, I love the Mortal Instruments.
Oh no!
I think that you might enjoy the Mortal Instruments. But anyway, we want to know what your favorites are and how you would rank them, and start a discussion with us, because as you can see, we can ramble for quite a while on things.
What other series would you like us to tackle ad nauseum? Be careful what you wish for.
Just remember, one of us may die. So be careful what you pick.
Neither can live so long as one of them stands, or whatever that dumbass prophecy was.
We'll see you guys next time.
He didn't finish listening to the prophecy! What kind of fuck? Turn the AC off.
Oh!
What do you think this is?
I thought I could get away with it.
No.